And that leads me to introduce Dome9, CloudGuard Dome9 as a product. And this is an example of the dashboard, where on the dashboard, you can see you can connect to multiple accounts at the same time. So you can have AWS, Azure, Cloud, Google Cloud Platform, and also some of the serverless computing, so Kubernetes. You can have an asset count. So you look at all your protected assets. You could have alerts, for example, with any specific account being with high severity alerts. You could look at any storage assets you've got with high security alerts. I'd be really careful about your S3 buckets here having 13,000 alerts. As a security administrator, I'll go and take a look at those. Now on the right of the dashboard here, and this dashboard is very customizable, you'd see a Dome9 rule set score. Now what does this mean is that we are assessing continuously all of your assets. So Dome9 is doing that, and it does that, I believe, every few minutes or so, about 5 minutes to 20 minutes. So you could set this up to continuously scan across your different accounts to look at a compliance view of your different assets. And from a single sort of point of page here, you can see which assets are compliant and which assets are not compliant from the rule set score. You could also take a look, see what are the protected assets per platform, and also how much of them are, so for example, the different types of assets you've got, and if there's any alerts or specific about the traffic or event alerts or any rules associated with them, you'd actually find those. So what is Dome9? Dome9 is a security tool which provides you with visibility, control of native security tools, looks at your assets, protected assets, and provides you compliance in public multi-cloud environments. The Dome9 helps minimize specific attack surfaces. Why is that? Is because it provides you with the visibility pretty instantly as soon as assets are being deployed of potential attack surfaces. So that brings us back to the question of how many entry points or backdoors are being opened when a specific instance is being spun in the cloud. So Dome9 minimizes that attack surface and protects against vulnerabilities and identifies theft and also data loss. From the logs, you're able to do all of those. In the background, Dome9 is continuously analyzing, and it provides this very nice display here of the configuration and also data flows of cloud accounts. And that way you're able to sort of uncover your security insights and help the security administrator, one, to keep a very compliant security posture for all of your assets. Second, discover misconfigurations. Third, discover users who are not allowed, who are legitimate users who are allowed to who have access to your assets and instances. And finally, an insight of all the flow of your traffic. So from using a tool which provides you that level of detail, you can see through the logs, you can see which ports are open, you can see which assets are public facing, which shouldn't be. You can see which databases are unencrypted when they should be. You can see if an administrator has had a misconfiguration by simply, as soon as an asset is spun within that account, an alert is sent to the security administrator flagging non-compliance, and you're able to jump onto that pretty much straight away and fix the vulnerability, the attack surface, and remediate it. And this is what CloudGuard Dome9 allows you to do. And I'd invite you all to start the labs with me. And for the labs, I have created the hands-on labs guide. And this is the URL for the lab guide. To launch the lab, you need to click on this link you need to register yourself, and then I will provide the activation code onto the slide. So activation code is, it's on the chat here, BCD9. Okay, so if you have seen activation code, I am just sending this to everyone right now. This would be activation code. Please, I will start doing the labs on here, and if you're happy to join me, please do so. I will start with the labs now. In the meanwhile, guys, I have been talking a lot, but if there's any questions, I'll be very happy to take them. Please feel free to write them on the chat here, and yeah, I'm happy to take the questions, and let me know how you're getting on with the labs. I will start with the labs now as well. Thank you. Okay, so I have created this video for everyone to help set up. Can you all see? The setup? Have you all registered now onto the link?
I think maybe I might have ended up in the wrong short link. What was the short link again for this?
Sure. So the link is.
Yes, kindly send on the chat, please.
Sure. Bear with me a second. I will put that on.
Thank you.
So this is going to be the Dome9 lab link. Work email address, or do you have Chandru, do you have a student email address for your university? Okay, please use that one. Thank you. That should work with your student email. Have you all got access to the lab guide now? To launch the lab, this is going to be the address. So launch the lab here.
Much better, thank you.
Excellent. So just checking how many of you are doing the labs. We do have a lab limitation, so I will just log on and check. Guys, once you register yourself, you should see an email within a couple of minutes with an invitation to log onto the labs. There will be a link in there to say launch the lab. So click on that link. Once you click on the link, the labs would be launched. And this is, for example, my lab right now, which is launching. And you should see a second email once your lab would have launched with all your credentials. So you do not have to open AWS accounts for yourself or Azure. For that matter, it's all done for you, and you would not have to register to Dome9. It will all be done for you. So go for Launch Labs, and it will start preparing your environment. That could take a small amount of time. And this lab is going to be available for 6 hours. So feel free to continue using the lab afterwards. And then once it's 6 hours over, it will just disconnect on its own. All right. Okay. Depends on your internet connection. Mine seems to be a bit slow right now. It's still preparing the lab, so I'll just go to my session here where I have created the lab, and
Here's a question for you. If you don't have a work email per se like that you could use, is there any sort of option that?
I mean, this is purely for you know, domain type emails. I think we don't really accept the public Gmail or so. But what you can do, so I would suggest, is this Wallaby?
This is, yes.
Okay, what I'd suggest is if you can send me an email and I will have you added as a user. So bear with me a second. Perfect. Did you send me an email already? Did you just send me? All right, okay. So I've got your email now. So I will just add you as a user and hopefully you should be able to connect shortly. Well, can you just type to me if you work somewhere, which company you work for, and which country you are, please?
All right.
Perfect. I have just registered yourself, Wallaby, so you should be receiving an email shortly. There we are. Okay, so I take it most of you have registered and your labs have launched. I can see a few users in here. So I've got 18 logins. Brilliant. I will start the video again. And after your registration, you should see the email coming in to launch your labs, right? If you click on launch your labs, okay, once the labs have been spun in the cloud, you would actually go into you'd have a second email which would contain your credentials to log on to Dome9, right? And also to log on to AWS. Okay, is everyone there yet? Have you all got through your emails? If anyone hasn't got an email or have a problem with email, let me know, please. Okay, I'm just resending the code for anyone who's missed it. Great, thanks, Kimberly. Brilliant. I'm seeing new registrations, so that's all good. I'm glad we're all starting the labs. Okay. So I would give this a quick go, so I could sort of just run you through what we are doing next. So I would bring the labs. So the labs, as you can see, is an introduction of Dome9. What it does, and it allows you to manage your security and the compliance in public cloud for your cloud assets. You should be able to technologies visualize and assess your security posture, detect misconfiguration, model and actively enforce gold standard policies, so checkpoint best practices, and protect against attacks, insider threats, provide cloud security intelligence by looking into your logs, and then provide you intelligence for cloud intrusion. So what that actually means is that you should be able to look at the logs and build your security policies in such a way that you're protecting your assets as the best as you can. And it will also help you comply with regulatory requirements, and also provides you a list of best practices which you can use as your own best practice, and create a report for different teams, security operation, and provide a pain-free compliance to compliance people, and also provide rugged DevOps practices. Okay, so Dome9 would look at, again, security operations, visualization of your assets, misconfigurations, identity protection. We'll look at compromised credentials and identity theft. We looked at the compliance and governance, such as standards such as PCI DSS, and you could also do reporting of your asset compliance against HIPAA, PCI DSS compliance, CIA benchmark, and so forth. And then using the Dome9 Magellan, it looks at cloud native security intelligence, which delivers cloud intrusion detection. We have a traffic visualization and user activity analytics by the logs. And this is also very, very interesting. I would definitely recommend we get to this small bit of network traffic visualization, because I think it is very, very interesting. So what we will do in the lab is to set up, which has been done already for you in the background, an AWS account, a Dome9 account. The first exercise would be to make you use Dome9 to do a cloud inventory of all the assets in your cloud. And the next step we will do is to visualize your cloud security architecture, okay? And then also look into the dynamic access. How can you open ports dynamically and also close them dynamically? Allow them to be open for a certain time, so you've got full control on who has access, as we've mentioned in the past about the challenges of cloud security and access. And then finally, we'll look at the very small compliance and governance side of things. So when you run a compliance assessment check, what is it that you can see and what are the next actions you can take from there? Okay, so we will start with setting up the environment, which you have already registered. So you register on the link I have sent you. You then click on the launch lab. There will be this on-demand lab session with all your credentials in here. Okay, so take a note of this, credentials, you will need it afterwards. And then you will go to Amazon AWS portal, okay? And then we will click on the link and then use the credentials and start looking at CloudFormation and EC2, right? So I will move this and then we will go to our CloudFormation bit, okay? So where I am at the moment is I have connected onto Dome9, okay? So Dome9, you'd go to secure. Have you all got your Dome9 link? So secure.dome9.com. Brilliant.
I just had a quick question. Sorry, this is Wallaby again. I didn't end up getting the email. Did you use the CH at the end there?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. So unless there's something blocking on your side, but you should have your credentials on here. Let me see if I can copy and paste that across to you. I'm just sending you this link here. See if you can log in using this link for me, Wilby. I suppose because it's Proton email, it may not be. I can't really tell you for sure. So chat. Can you try logging in from this link I've just sent you, please? And I've just resent you your credentials invite, just in case you haven't got it.
Thank you. Yeah, I got into where it says launch lab. So.
Oh, perfect. No, that's good. Okay. I'd hope everyone has reached on the CloudGuard Dome9 and logged on to AWS. Right, let me hold this a little bit. All right. So you log on to Dome9 on secure.dome9.com, and then you'd see your dashboard, okay? And the lab says to go to AWS, so we will switch to go to AWS. Go through your labs. Okay, so we go to AWS, and then you go to your resource group, and then go to your CloudFormation EC2 VPC. Pin those on here. Once that's all pinned, the next thing we would do is to start looking at our cloud formation template. Okay, so you'd go to cloud formation. Okay, look at the pin. We'll start at cloud formation, click on there, go to creating the stack. On the chat, right? So you'd actually notice that you've got all your user details. Just one thing in here, guys, when you are starting your Amazon CloudFormation template, do make sure that you stick with the region. Okay, so I have selected London for mine, but if you are selecting a different region, do make sure you stick to that region in your other configurations. So something you'll have to remember. Right, so let's start with the CloudFormation. Okay, I click on the link, go to OpenStack, click on the link to obtain the CloudFormation template. Have you all got your CloudFormation template and uploaded them? Okay, so where do you find the template? The template is actually here. Let me get my browser. So you need to go to Dome9. Okay, so you'd go to Dome9, which is Dome9 login. Once you're logged in, mine is not going to work right now, but Kimberly, you need to go to Dome9, and then on the Dome9 page, which is, I'll show you in a second, it's there, and you need to copy the file across. So I'm doing this with you now. Dome9. Right, so we're going to asset management, and you start onboarding process. You go to get started now. We're doing full protection, so full read and write. Okay, these are the permissions we are going to give end users Dome9 account onboarding. You get started. You then go to your AWS Amazon.com. You will click on services, and we will do the create policy, create the JSON tab. We need to copy and paste this policy document here. This is the bit you need to copy. So we'll go here, click on Amazon, sign in. Are you all getting on with the labs now? Are we all signed into Amazon? So I am just now doing that. So your Amazon sign in, remember, you will receive that from your email. The email, you should receive all your credentials. So we are logging on to this. So I've got my username. Okay, once you're logged on, so this is all going in this page here. I am now logged onto my AWS account. Go to CloudFormation, create stack. Okay, you upload your template, you choose your template. I would have previously downloaded this from after doing your JSON read and write policy. Yeah, we'll do that. Upload the template. Chosen my file, you give the stack name, which is in this case Dome9 as suggested on the lab. Click on next. Next, we will then review the configuration. Do the subnets. These are the parameters you're setting to define your template. When you create your stack and your EMI, you then provide the look at specific permissions, but this is optional. We're not doing that in this demo. So you go to next and then you review your template. This is the permission template you're giving to onboard AWS account onto Dome9. Okay, so Dome9, after onboarding process, Dome9 should be able to talk to your AWS account with very specific permissions with what Dome9 requires to run the cloud asset and compliance, and also asset management. So create stack from here. Okay, and then you'd see this in progress. So guys, are we all here now? Have we all done this specific first bit of onboarding? Are there any questions so far? You know, it's always sort of a bit tricky first time when you do these things. I would suggest, you know, when you are going through this, look at the onboarding process, look at the permissions you are creating, what level of permissions you are giving. I have to say this is a very strict permissions we are providing for these two components, so Dome9 and AWS, to talk to each other, so we can, Dome9 can do your asset security management and compliance checks using the read and write profile, and also read profile only when required. Okay, so now once you've onboarded, you'd see the status as in create in progress, and this is user initiated. So what we can do now is to go back onto Dome9 after your onboarding process, go to asset management, look at your cloud accounts. You should be able to now see that the cloud account has been onboarded, and you should see the cloud accounts on there. So how's it all looking for you? Can you all see your cloud accounts being onboarded? We'll just push this a little bit. We just did it started. So next, what we are going to create now is identity access management. So we will create a specific role, okay, for the users to connect with specific policies. So what we will do now is to create the full protection read and write mode. We'll create the IAM policy for the Dome9 user. We will select the services and the policy within the JSON tab. We will provide that. And then once that's done, we'll see how here, we'll review the policy. Are you all with me now? So we go to IAM role, create sort of policy. We'll create a JSON policy, right? You go to your Dome9 account, you copy across, okay? You look at your policy and then you copy this policy document across. And once you have copied it, you will review your policy. You will give this policy a name. Whilst this is happening, I will reply to one of the questions I have here. Okay, so have we all started creating the policies? So this is the answer to your question. The reference architecture was from Cloud Security Alliance artifacts. So version 2.2, the file is available to download from this link. And I think this was NB, I think Nick Britain who's asked this question, so I will come back to you as well shortly, if you are still hanging around. There we go. Okay, so if we continue here, we should now copy and paste the IAM policy for read-only policies. Okay, and then we'll do write policy this time. Have this policy in here, and as you can see, so we're authorizing a few things only for read-write. So we're authorizing security group egress, authorization, ingress, creating security group, deleting security groups, revoking, modifying network interface attributes, and creating tags and deleting tags. That's all we are allowing the read and write policy to do. So as you can see, it's very, very specific. Okay, and review this, and once this is completed, go to the next step, which is giving this particular policy the right name and a description for this, and create the policy. Okay, do we have any questions so far? I don't know how far are you along with your labs, but have we all created our read and write policies? Okay, it looks like quiet, everyone. So we are moving on. So we'll go to the next step here, which is to create the specific roles, and you will go to create another AWS account here. And you will, this is effectively adding you to a third party. So you will find these details of account ID on your Dome9 page, which will also give you the external ID. So let's go and get that information across. Okay, so wasn't this one? Okay, so once you have created, you will get your account ID here. So we copy the account ID, and then the external ID. We will need to enter this on the AWS account. So what we're doing here is we are creating a trusted entity with these different IDs and external IDs. So there is a match of trusted, and we will be creating these policies. The security audit is what we will attach the permission policies to. Okay, so search for the security audit, the inbuilt AWS one, so that's it. And the next one would be for the Amazon Inspector read-only access policy. We'll look for that. And the next one is for the Dome9 access. Okay, so you review this rule, okay? Bear in mind, guys, what we're doing here is an identity access management rule for Dome9. So this is for Dome9 to be able to do all the specifics we mentioned about looking for misconfiguration, looking at asset review, and doing a security audit, and also looking at Dome9. So these are the policies which Dome9 would have access to. These are the managed policy. You name the role correctly. Best practice always says be careful about your naming conventions and have a consistency into how you name your rules, your roles and the rules you fill up. So it is it's easy when you're even passing it on to someone else and you're conforming to certain level of procedures. So now you'd see that the Dome9 Connect user role is actually connected. Is created, and then you'd find the role ARN there, which you will then go to add onto the Dome9 account. So this is all part of the onboarding process, okay? Once this is done, we will look at the different policies this has applied. You look at what roles, the last activity, summary of this account, where you will select which business account unit, organizational unit will this account be associated to. You could have multiple, you could have one sole level looking at everything. But in this case, we are, for the purpose of the training, we are doing cloud training, everything under cloud training. Okay, so this process could take a small while, but once it's done, it actually allows your AWS account to now be connected to Dome9. And usually in a production environment, it could take a bit longer, but also depending on how many assets you've got. There's a very, very few number of instances here, which we will look into. Hence, it should just take a couple of minutes. And then you can go to your Dome9 account, go to asset management, and then go to cloud accounts and look at if there's any instances also being which has connected. So remove, you should see your account here now. So you'll find AWS, and it is Cloud Training Organizational Unit, which we have selected. So what we will then do next is to connect onto the AWS account and see now that Dome9 has connected onto this, Dome9 has connected onto AWS and the onboarding process is complete for that organizational unit. You'd see the list of your account, okay? You could have multiple accounts, but in the case of this training, we have only one account. And then we've got the region. And you'd see that I had selected London as my region. So you'd see that London account, and the detection is only read-only, but it's in monitor mode at the moment. And it's created 13 online instances with 16 full protection. Okay, and this is what we wanted to achieve at the end of Lab 1, which is the onboarding process. Now, this is going to be pretty standard for all of your accounts. Azure, AWS, of course, Azure, you'll have a few more steps. There's a few more clicks and sometimes different clicks and different jargons, which is potentially could be another session. We could look into the Azure side of things. And then we will move on to look into, if everyone's complete with this and there is no other further questions, we will go to Lab 2, where we will be reviewing your asset management, and we will look at the Lab 2. Okay, so Lab 2, we are looking into your running instances, and we are going to also look into security groups. So running instances, as you can see, is 13, which we saw, and this was what Dome9 discovered when we looked at the accounts earlier, and it is true because we now logged on to AWS, and you can see there's 13 instances of your accounts running on T2.90 instances types on AWS. So this is your list here. So we're all good. The numbers are matching, and there's 16 of them. So we will move on to look into how many of those instances are there, and then how many, which we have seen, and how many of security groups have been deployed. So let's take a look at the security groups. Now, the security groups, you'll need to scroll down on the left side under Network Security tab. You'd see the security groups which have been deployed. And again, this is 16, and this is what is matching on Dome9 earlier. So you'd find your security groups here. Now, do any of you have any questions at the moment so far on what we have done? Is anything not clear? Is there anything you'd like to ask and understand? How is Dome9 working under the hood? Or, for example, what is the security group? And what is, how are security groups used on here? Okay, so just for your benefit, The security groups are security groups which are managed for your Dome9 managed cloud accounts. If your accounts are fully managed by Dome9, you can actively manage your security groups from there. You can define new security groups, you can modify them, and then you can apply them to your accounts. What value does security group provide to your users is that it's in a single place. So for managed accounts, you can change the security groups of these accounts centrally, and then define, say, for example, apply any particular changes across your entire cloud presence. So for example, you can search security groups by looking for specific security policies across the entire cloud. You can review your security postures by simply looking at your security groups, and then position your assets depending on which security group they form onto. And then that kind of helps you with a uniform, applying a uniform change onto your groups, for instance. So let's take a look at the security group. So we've looked at the cloud assets. We are looking at your protected assets. And then we go onto our Dome9 dashboard, right? We are going to look into your protected assets. So home dashboard. So one of the questions in here while looking at protected assets is, can you all see your dashboard? Like I'm being shown a screen in a second. So this page is the overview page, and then we go to the dashboard. Okay, on your dashboard, you'd select the AWS, okay? And then you'd actually see all the different functions, and then all the different regions and different sort of assets within them, and the functions and the regions and security instances and network interfaces, etc. So what these donuts actually mean is that these are different, the different functions onto these accounts. So can you all hear me correctly? Yeah, that's good. Do you have any questions for me so far? No? Okay, so we'll continue. Right, so let's look at the these different donuts, and we will go into detail. So you can these can be drilled down into your protected assets. So if you go onto, say, for example, we are looking for a particular asset which is public facing or doesn't have an public IP attached to it, this is how we will filter and look into the particular asset. And that would be the end of this lab. And then we'll move on to do exercise 2. I'm conscious we only have 10 minutes left, but I do want you to run through very quickly this particular set, because I think this is super important to go and just understand really the security posture. So in this case, what we're looking for is the protected asset which doesn't have a public IP associated with it. So we've looked at that, and we've identified is the prod web. And the next thing we'll look at is for your security posture, visualizing your security, network security and architecture. So we'll look at the London region, okay? Once the visualization starts, you'd actually see a list of your security assets in here. Now this is very important, because what this shows you is that you can look into your assets and then see where are they, drill down into them. Are they connected to external, internal? Are they part of your which segment of your network are they part of, and also what does it connect to, and look at the different outbound services. Are they inbound services? Which ports are connected, etc. So this is what the labs would go for. Number 2 is to identify which of those accounts, the clarity module, and look into those different aspects of the asset. So this gives you the visibility you need when you're onboarding cloud security and you want to know which assets are connected, etc., onto the Dome9 platform. Okay, so let's move on and look at the clarity visualization side of things. Right, so in this case, what we're trying to do now is to run a dynamic access. So in this, for example, you're trying to look for web access onto HTTP 80 for the IP address, which is related to the web app. Okay, so we'll go to web app. We'll identify remote desktop. You'll see that port 339 is actually open, and you do not want users to access port 339. So you now delete that, and then we go back to the instance to look at clarity. So clarity, and this is the visualization of your assets. And what that gives you here, I'd like to pause this if I could. Right, there we go. If I can pause this. You'd see a visualization of all your assets into the cloud, and where are they actually segmented and where are they based. So we'll look further into the next slides, but the labs. Are you all still here with me? How are you all getting on with the labs now? Have you done with labs 2 yet? Okay, and this is the bit where I wanted to show you, whereas this network clarity, the clarity provides you a good view of your network and where are they segmented, your different IP addresses. Are they external facing? Are they part of DMZ? Are they partially open? What are they partially open? And then if they are internal, then what ports are connected onto those? So if I now go back to my demo. Okay, this is the new version of what is the network, the clarity, which shows you the different segmentation. Again, this is very interesting because you can just drill down, and once you drill down, it takes you into exactly which component is connected to which side of the DMZ. For example, in this one, the Dome9 web in the DMZ, the external interface here is connected to here. And then if you look on your right, there is the details of what is connected, which source, which target, which assets are associated with it. So you can drill down further to try and build a map and look at other different aspects and visualize all of your assets all together. This is really, really interesting when you're first onboarding the cloud, and whichever point you're brought in to the cloud to start assessing your assets in the cloud, it's important to see what these are. And this is done in a very automated fashion and helps us with great visibility of what do we need to do in terms of keeping our security posture correct, and also providing the dynamic access which cloud requires, the dynamic security which cloud requires today to be able to keep up with the agile functions and the characteristics of the cloud. So if we sort of go into the details here, and then you can go into more granular detail. So in this case, you can just switch this to monitor mode, but we will not do that because I want full protection, because I want to be able to dynamically, for example, allow someone to connect onto port 80. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go to the web app functionality. Okay, we'll go to the next one. Here, we'll first delete this. I want to be able to delete remote access. So once you look at the requirement, you say cloud access.
Little one, I cannot see your screen. I'm seeing your camera.
Oh, sorry. So it should be good now?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, thanks, Denise. Okay, so I'll just go back to this small piece I was showing here, is that if you want to keep your asset dynamic, so asset security dynamic, and I'll keep this as a write only, so we'll forget the read bit, and then we'll go to open some of the ports. So in the case next, here we'd actually see that, where's this? Here, there we go. You'd actually see that port 3389 is not necessary to be open. So what we do is delete this completely, and you're actually deleting this from the Dome9 interface, and you're effectively controlling your assets from the Dome9 interface. So we go ahead and delete that, and once that's deleted, you could go back and verify from your clarity if you can see the ports open or not. And then once this is sort of open, once you'd actually see this has been deleted from here, and that is also done. So if you want to go back now, if you want to allow someone access dynamically onto a specific asset, for example, we'll go onto our protected assets again. We will look up the asset, which is, I think, the web application, and then we'll go to Dome9, and then we will take a quick look at the next bit here, which is looking at a specific web app which has access to, which has public IP facing access. And so app web app 2, select that. We go into this app, take a note of the IP address. We'll try and connect to this IP address over HTTP, so port 80. Once we do this, we will wait for something to happen. And then it will just sit here looking like nothing much is happening. Okay, so what we are going to now do is to go back to the web app. What we'll try to do now is to enable access to this web application only for 1 hour. Okay, so you see that the application actually failed. So we'll do this from Dome9. So we'll go to web app now. Click onto that. I hope I do that quickly enough. Okay, let's go to dynamic access, right? We'll look at the app, come on. Okay, we'll look for the web app in the dynamic access. We will see port 80 in here, right, selected. So what we want to do now is to allow people to log on to port 80, but only for an hour. So what we do is to go to this web app, go to get access, click on it, and you could select, these are inbuilt functions. So you could select either access for 1 hour, 10 hours, and so forth. And this will then allow the user to connect to this app for an hour. And this is very simple. Hello from Dome9, and your app is actually connected for 1 hour. It will expire automatically, so you do not have to keep track about being reminders to delete this or terminate the lease, and you can just look at what time does it terminate, and it will do this automatically without much requirements from the user side. So that takes us to the end of the previous lab, I believe. And then we'll go to the compliance rule set. Again, this is something we spoke about quite a bit. We will look up for the CIS rule, and I think we're just running out of time here. Dennis, do I have a few more minutes to complete this?
Yeah, sure.
Thank
As long
you.
as the participants are holding on, it's fine.
It looks like I can't hear anything from anyone at the moment, so I hope the labs are continuing. So I'll just continue with, for example, building the compliance rule set. So you look at the CIS foundation. In this case, I'm selecting the CIS foundation rules. Okay. So once this is selected, we will now go to run this particular assessment. So look into that. There's policies in there, 48 rules. Click onto it, and then they should load. Go on. Okay. So you'd see that the CIS Foundation version 1.2 is actually loaded. You'd actually see a run assessment button here, and you'd see all the different policies which are part of this foundation. So you'll find the root account, avoid the use of root account. So then what that means is when you run this assessment, it will check on all of your entities whether if any of those assets are using the root account. And if they are, it will flag them up. And this is built using the Gsl language, the script language builder. That here's a user, the name which regex matches root account. Okay, they should not have the password last used for more than 90 days is what we're checking, right? This will flag up everything. So what we'll do is we will then run the assessment containing all these 48 rules. It does take some time to run the assessment depending on how many assets, of course, you've got. But in this case, it's going to be really quick because this is it's got just a few assets loaded in there. So what we are doing now is to run the asset. It takes a minute. Once the assets are run, it actually displays to you a dashboard which you can export into a report and a specific format as well. So CSV or so, or if you wanted to create follow-ups for this, you can also then push this into a SIM service or integrate into ServiceNow or ticketing or Jira to have follow-up for these assessment fails, rules, fails, best practices, etc. So the dashboard here is one which is, for example, where are your assets distributed, which data centers are they using, how many of them failed the test by severity rule levels, the test scores, again, what was tested against, and then details of all those particular policies being enabled in those regions and which ones are they, and you can always look into them, drill down, click on the expand button to look at the different policies and see what is it that you need to do, for example, understand what it does so you can take the next action, etc. So you can see on this side here, there's a few actions which you can take, and one is to flag it, and the other one is to potentially use cloud bots, and then the other one is to keep an eye to understand what is it doing, so you can create a flow of your activities. So this is essentially your cloud security compliance posture. Now, to mention this, I think this runs every few minutes, up to 20 minutes, I think. And then you are, as such, continuously keeping your assets compliant with your security best practices or your compliance framework, regulatory compliance framework you require. It is very easy as well to build any of those Gsl Builder rules. So it's simply just going to the builder here, and you can just create, for example, here, if we're looking for instances which have public IP addresses on their assets. So in this case, we're looking for public address equals false, so internal IPs, and then we run the test. And it should then bring up a list of those instances which have a public IP equals false. And then from here, again, similar to before. So this is simply if you're looking for very specific things. So if you're onboarding a project, this is where you'd go, right, okay, this is my set of assets. These are the rules. This is what I need to check. You go here, build your rules, run the test, and from here, look at what's compliant, not compliant, and then start remediating or start actioning what should be compliant and making those actions from here. And that takes me really to the end of this session. And I hope you all sort of had a good understanding of the cloud asset, Cloud 101 security, and also understanding your security posture, the policies behind the way of thinking, your mindset, and what are the things you need to reach and build yourself a good cloud security posture. I would be very happy if you had any feedback from me to actually let me know if there is anything I could help you with, or if you've got any feedback or any questions based on these labs. The labs will be live for about 5 more hours, so play around as much as you can. And if you need any more information, do ping me a message. I'm on LinkedIn, my address is here, or via the Slack account. I'll be very, very happy to help you out. So unless anyone's got any question at the moment, I will take them, or we're running already 10 minutes late. And we will say thank you very much for attending, if there's no question. Okay, it looks like I don't have any questions at the moment, Dennis. So I think I'm good to go.
Okay, great. No, thanks for your time. This was a really great session, and yeah, so we can draw the close, and Alana, you can stop the recording now, and